Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, worshippers of all ages, welcome to YouTube. My name is SeaRaptor. Today we're continuing our first look series as we head up the German carrier line. This time we'll look at Tier VIII's August von Parseval. I'm probably mispronouncing that. Sorry guys, German's not my native language, you'll get over it. Of course, boilerplate reminder here, guys. All these ships right now are work in progress. These ships are in super testing. I'm allowed to show you what the ship looks like. We can go through its stats and port, but I cannot play the ship for you. Nobody can show you live gameplay of this ship right now as they're still in testing. All kinds of things are going to change, blah, blah, blah. You know the drill at this point if you've seen the other videos. So we'll talk through the ship. We can look at it, but can't play it for you. So first things first here. If you're thinking at your first glance, like, hey, that ship looks like a Graf Zeppelin, you are correct. Parseval seems to be another ship from the exact same essential design as Graf Zeppelin, Flugzeugträger A. The big difference here is that while Parseval retains the 105 millimeters the 105 millimeter secondaries on her flight deck, she loses all of the 150 millimeter secondaries that Graf Zeppelin had in her hull. Health pool rise. Let's start down the list here. Health pool wise, she's right there in the low 50s, which is about where you find all the other Tier 8 carriers. 51,400 HP. Lexington, it's noteworthy, runs away with this category, where there are over 57,000 hit points. Well, Saipan, which of course is based on the hull of a Baltimore-class heavy cruiser, brings up the rear in the mid-40s. But most of the tech tree carriers are in the mid-50s, and that's kind of where we are here. She handles the same as her premium sister ship, 1140 meters there on the turning circle with a top speed of around 32 knots. Again, that's typical. Her base detection, I feel like this is a typo or something. This is weird, right? 13.5 kilometers, like that's actually quite good, but consider her sister ship, already in the game, Graf Zeppelin, has a base detection of over 16.2 kilometers is Zeppelin's base detection. What's going on here? I don't understand this. That feels really strange. Maybe that means we're going to get a buff to Zeppelin's detection? I don't know, but this feels awkward. Maybe they're just maybe they're messing around with it for testing purposes. Let's hope so. Anyway, because this just feels weird. I mentioned it earlier, but we'll go through it again real quick. Parseval's secondaries are notably less meme-tacular than Graf Zeppelin's. She carries 6 dual mounts of 105 millimeters here on her flight deck. Astute observers will note that these are, in fact, newer, fancier versions of the 105s. They are the C/38 instead of the C/31, which is what you find on Graf Zeppelin. And they are a newer version, but they have the exact same performance. There's nothing fancy here. It's the same shell velocity, the same fire chance, the same pen chance. It's the same gun, basically. They just look prettier. All right, so let's get to the meat of things. Let's have a look at the air wing. Remember that all we have to go on right now are raw numbers, right? So all the various things that I've said this in all the videos, and I'm going to continue pointing this out. Looking at raw numbers doesn't tell you the whole story, right? So you have to make sure that we're going to look at raw numbers, we're going to talk about raw numbers, but once we actually start seeing how these things play, that's going to be really key to understanding everything. So all of this is a theory craft, but we'll talk through it. All right, am I on the right ship? Yes. All right. First up, attack aircraft. These are Messerschmitts. These are Bf-109s. Maintaining the theme of German carriers, these attack planes have the lowest health pool of any Tier 8 carrier, which, as you can see down below, is a pretty extensive list these days. As before, just like all the other ships in the class, in the tech tree, these planes mount AP rockets, and they fire off in salvos of 12. The damage per rocket has increased. You see that now it's up to 2,150 damage, up from the 1,600 that we found on Vesa and Rhine at Tier 6 and Tier 4, respectively. So there's a lot of potential damage in these salvos, but how effective they are is going to depend heavily on target selection, attack angle, and the reticle size. Like, that's one thing we gotta make sure we understand. And we don't know right now. We don't know that right now. One thing to note, while Graf Zeppelin, premium Graf Zeppelin, her rocket planes are the slowest in the tier, which makes them really good for getting in attacks on destroyers, even those that have their AA turned off. Parseval's attack planes here are much more typical of the rest of the tier in terms of speed. You see there about 162 knots of speed. That's pretty normal. That's about what you'd find on most of these ships. And honestly, let's be serious here. You aren't probably going to be hunting destroyers with these planes anyway. Furthering the differences between the two vessels, is the torpedo bombers. The torpedo bombers of these of Zeppelin and Parseval look nothing alike. Okay, Zeppelin's torpedo bombers are lightning fast with a pretty good chunk of HP. Parseval's are faster than average, but remain incredibly fragile, and of course, they pack those snail torpedoes, 25 knots of speed. This is a ship that's going to see Tier 10 battles, people. I have no idea how Wargaming expects torpedo speeds this slow to be workable. I mean, I just don't get it. I honestly have no idea. I'm cautiously optimistic that as we go through testing, they're going to figure out that this is a bad idea, and they're going to bring this up into the mid-30s, which is honestly much more realistic. That's where Zeppelin's torpedoes are, right? 35 knots. But I don't know. Like, I'm speculating at this point. I have no idea. I guess more than anything, I'm wishing and hoping that we get to that point, because this feels really awful when you look at it on paper. So, I don't know, we'll see. And finally, the dive bombers. And, yep, as you can see there, yep, you guessed it, crappy plane health. The health of these BF-110s is honestly, is kind of shameful, let's be honest. These AP bombs don't even hit as hard as Shokaku's, and the planes have like 20% less health than their Japanese counterparts, which begs the question, what's the point? This targeting reticle, when we finally see it, had better be really, really awesome, or these things are going to be a joke. Kind of like Zeppelin's dive bombs, right? Like Zeppelin's dive bombs hit decently hard, but you put 2 bombs into a reticle that is wider than most Tier 10 battleships. And so you just have no idea what you're going to get out of those bombs. Those bombs literally are a meme. These cannot afford to be. And right now, I just don't know. I will say this. I like this about them. Parseval's dive bombs drop at least in waves of 3 planes rather than waves of 2 like Zeppelin's does. So you're putting whatever reticle we get, you're putting 3 bombs into it. So that's something to keep in mind. That's kind of nice. Armor layout. I mean, this is the same basic armor layout that you get off of Zeppelin, right? I'm going to turn off the torpedo bulge here. It's the 80 millimeters along the edges there, 100 millimeters in the center. You've got this little 25 millimeter strake. She's got 19 millimeter bow and a 25 millimeter deck. This is nothing fancy here. Nothing exciting. Her anti-aircraft defenses, though. Now, this is something worth noting. This anti-aircraft suite is punishing. Look at that medium range AA. 600 damage per second in the medium range ore, and it's all based on these beautiful 55 millimeter Garats that you see. These are the really good German anti-aircraft guns. Like Hindenburg has these, and they just do such amazing work. I'm excited to see these on this ship. This ship is got a very punishing AA aura. I'll give it that. On the whole, I really want to like this ship, but as we get farther up the line, I'm finding less and less to like. These torpedoes hit like trains, but at that speed, I don't even know how you're going to be able to use them. Both the AP bombs and the planes that carry them are grossly inferior to those already found aboard Shokaku. So why would I reach for this ship in an environment where if I'm in a competitive environment, or even just a regular environment, and I want to be able to drop AP bombs on cruisers, I'm going to go take Shokaku. I'm not going to look at this thing. I don't know. The only interesting thing, the only really truly unique thing that Parseval offers at present is the AP rockets. And at the moment, there's just too many unknowns for us to be able to really quantify them one way or the other. Right now, if I had to pick between this and Graf Zeppelin, I'd pick Zeppelin. We don't know everything yet, of course, but so far, I think they're going to have to make some pretty noteworthy changes to the Tier 8 carrier before she becomes really competitive. There's a lot of really good Tier 8 carriers, and right now, on paper, Parseval does not look like she's one of them. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed that. Wash your hands, be safe out there, and I'll catch you next time.